Exposed, my daughter-in-law revealed an incredible transformation after I disappeared for 30 days. Jacob Morgan, a proud veteran, had always been the rock of his family, but one day, he recognized a feeling of emptiness deep within. He had put his heart and soul into being the perfect husband to Lisa and a guiding father to his ambitious daughter-in-law, Rachel. With financial stress gripping their beloved grocery store, Morgan's Place, Jacob felt his identity dissolve into the stress of their struggles. So, at 45, he decided to take a 30-day sabbatical, leaving his family bewildered and uncertain. Rachel, a hard-working mother juggling 2 jobs and raising spirited 10-year-old Ethan, suddenly found herself at the forefront, the weight of family expectations pressing down on her like a heavy stone. What am I going to do, she thought, fighting the tears that threatened to spill. The air in their suburban home felt thick with responsibility. Would Jacob's absence mean the loss of their legacy? Could she save Morgan's Place? Rachel summoned the courage she didn't know she had, fueled by love for her family and determination. In this moment of uncertainty, she decided to revitalize Morgan's Place. Heart racing, she gathered up neighbors at the local diner. Word had spread quickly, excitement buzzed in the air. "Let us bring our grocery store back to life," she declared. The murmurs of agreement ignited a spark of hope within her. It felt palpable, like the warmth of the morning sun breaking after a long, dark night. Each promise of help rekindled the essence of their community spirit, a neighbor-driven revival that celebrated hard work and commitment. Meanwhile, Jacob journeyed to a nearby rural town to connect with fellow veterans. Around a crackling fire, stories poured out, courage, loss, laughter, and brotherhood filled the night. With every shared experience, Jacob was forced to reflect on his own life, the definitions of masculinity and success flipping upside down. Suddenly, being the provider felt less about money and more about presence and love. He realized he had neglected emotional engagement, the very support his family needed. On the day of Rachel's big community event, the energy buzzing was intoxicating. Friends and neighbors decorated outside Morgan's Place, bringing joy and warmth to the once dwindling storefront. Rachel stood at the entrance, the pride swelling in her chest. "We can save this," she thought as she felt a wave of encouragement from those around her. With each laughter and connection, she embodied an incredible transformation, galvanizing the community into action. When Jacob returned home, he was greeted by an unexpected sight. Lively chatter echoed around Morgan's Place, where customers flocked in with smiles and laughter. Standing side by side with neighbors, Rachel looked radiant and confident, a version of herself he had never witnessed before. Jacob's heart filled with admiration and confusion. Beyond the joy of revival, he felt a troubling fear creeping in. What did it mean for him now? Had he misjudged what it meant to be a family man? As Rachel's eyes met his, a complex swirl of emotions washed over Jacob. Standing amidst the jubilant crowd, he confronted the question that hung in the air. Could he reconcile the ideals he had held onto and the strength Rachel had manifested without losing the very bonds that held their family together? The energy was thick, the crowd buzzing while both stood poised on the precipice of understanding. A silent question loomed amidst the celebration. What would happen next? Jacob took a deep breath, his eyes scanning the crowded store. It felt like he had stepped into an alternate universe where his absence had led to a beautiful transformation he hadn't foreseen. Laughter bounced off the walls, and the scent of freshly baked goods mingled with the familiar, earthy aroma of home. People he had known for years were pouring their hearts into this revival. But in this vibrant chaos, he felt like a ghost haunting his own life. "Are you okay?" Rachel's voice broke through his reverie. There was concern etched on her face, which mixed seamlessly with her newfound strength. He wanted to reach out, to tell her how proud he was of her, but the words stuck in his throat like a stone. I just didn't expect this," he stammered, gesturing around at the bustling activity. "You've done an incredible job, Rachel. I'm amazed." Her smile flickered, a mix of joy and uncertainty. "I had to step up, Jacob. You taught me that. Your absence forced me to see how strong I could be, but this couldn't have happened without the community rallying behind us." Images of the past few weeks flooded his mind, the deep conversations with fellow veterans, their struggles and triumphs, and his troubling realization about what family truly meant. He had gone searching for answers, and here they were, standing in front of him like an invitation. But what did he have to contribute now? More customers came in, laughter mingling with the chatter, filling every nook and cranny of the grocery store. Jacob watched as community members hugged Rachel, celebrating her leadership. There was applause for her efforts, yet his heart ached. Would they still need him, or had he become irrelevant, just another face in the crowd? Ethan bounded to his side, his eyes sparkling. "Grandpa! Look at what Mom did. We're going to have free ice cream today." The boy's exuberance was contagious, momentarily dispelling Jacob's clouds of doubt. "Free ice cream?" he echoed, a grin breaking through. "Yup. It's a thank you for all the helpers." Ethan beamed. Jacob knelt beside his grandson, his heart lightening slightly. "That's amazing, buddy." "Hey, Grandpa," Ethan said with a newfound seriousness, "are you going to help us keep Morgan's place alive, too?" The question hit Jacob like a bolt of thunder. Could he help? He had always thought leading meant being at the front, not taking a step back and letting Rachel shine. But now he realized leadership could take many forms. It could mean clearing uncomfortable paths, supporting from the sidelines, or especially, stepping back to let others thrive. "I think I can help," he said, his voice steadier now. "Let us figure this out together." Rachel's eyes widened, a mixture of hope and relief flooding her expression. This was the moment they both needed, the realization that family meant not just roles, but partnership. Just then, as Ethan dashed off toward the ice cream stand, the small bell over the door chimed. Jacob turned to see a familiar face enter, one he hadn't expected to see. It was Lisa, holding a basket overflowing with goodies. "You came back," Rachel exclaimed, her happiness palpable. But as Jacob caught Lisa's gaze, he sensed a tension lurking beneath her cheerful facade. What would she think of all this? "No one told me about this party," Lisa said, her voice cool, masking emotions raw beneath the surface. Jacob felt a twist in his gut. Their family was already so delicate, the last thing they needed now was complicating matters with old wounds. Did she believe he abandoned them for good? Would she blame Rachel for taking the reins that he had once held tightly? Suddenly, the celebration felt like a tightrope walk, balancing joy and vulnerability, love and fear. Each second could tip either way. How would they all navigate the path ahead together? Jacob's heart raced as he met Lisa's gaze. It wasn't just about her surprise, it was a confrontation with his own past choices. She took a step forward, the basket of treats shifting in her hands, as if it weighed too heavily for the current mood. He couldn't read her face, but the coolness in her voice stung. "Lisa, I didn't think," he started, his words trailing off. What could he say to explain the disconnection, the distance? It felt like a chasm between them. "Yeah, well, it's hard to keep track of everything when you're not around," Lisa replied, her tone sharper than he had expected. "You missed a lot, Jacob." "We all did." The warmth of the celebration suddenly felt distant, swamped by the cool breeze of regret. He had chosen to step away to find himself, yet now that path felt like a mistake, a misstep that had left others to bear the burden. Rachel interjected, striving for support. "We've worked hard, Lisa. Together. I promise this place is about family and coming back together, even when it's messy." Lisa's eyes flicked toward Rachel, caught between the pride of the community's success and the history that unspooled between them. "Is that what he told you?" she asked sharply. That he needed to see if he could still matter? Jacob felt like he had been thrown into a storm. "No, that's not it," but Lisa cut him off. "You left us all hanging, Jacob. When you walked away, it wasn't just you. It was the whole family. You thought it was just about finding peace, but what about the peace you destroyed?" Those words echoed, slashing through his defenses. The tumult of his departure now echoed in the memories of broken dinners, missed conversations, and lingering silences. He had fled to seek clarity, but what clarity had he really found? The din of laughter faded into the background. People moved along, enjoying the ice cream and the celebration. But here, he stood isolated, like a statue among the living, grappling with the truths that had come rushing back. Lisa, I wish I could take it back. But I'm back now, and I want to be better for you, for Ethan, he pleaded, desperation tinging his voice. He longed for reconciliation, to bridge the crack that had splintered their family. Ethan returned, carrying 2 cones, one for Jacob, one for Rachel. Look, everyone. Ice cream. He shouted, blissfully unaware of the emotional storm brewing. The sweetness of the ice cream contrasted with the bitter complications in the air. Ethan, Lisa said, her voice softening as she looked down at her son. You're doing such a good job helping your mom. Jacob's heart sank. Was this what he had missed, the everyday moments of connection? He wanted to reach out to his family and be part of their lives again, but the scars of his absence felt like mountains. Can we all just work on this together? Rachel asked, stepping closer, trying to salvage the moment. We need to rebuild trust, but we can also share joy. Lisa paused. The tension between them was still there, but Jacob could sense a flicker of possibility. You're right. That's what we're supposed to do, isn't it? Lisa's voice softened. We can try. Jacob edged closer, vulnerability and hope battling within him. I want to help, Lisa. I want to be part of this. As the ice cream dripped down Ethan's hands, laughter returned to the store, but the weight of their conversation lingered. The path to healing wasn't clear, but standing together felt like a chance, a new beginning. Just as things seemed to settle, a loud crash reverberated from the back of the store. Jacob turned sharply, dread creeping in. What had just happened? Suddenly, the fragile truce they had begun to build felt like it could come crashing down. What if this wasn't the end of their challenges, but the beginning of something much bigger? The laughter froze mid-giggle, replaced by a collective gasp. Jacob's stomach dropped as he turned toward the sound, the sudden urgency slicing through the air like a blade. It had come from behind the ice cream display, a dull thud, followed by the clatter of something metal rolling to the floor. What was that? Rachel's voice trembled slightly. The look on Lisa's face shifted from annoyed to alarmed, and Jacob felt his heart hammering against his ribcage as he moved toward the commotion. Ethan, still holding his cones, stared wide-eyed at the source of the noise. Mom? What's happening? His innocence cut through the tension, grounding Jacob momentarily. He didn't want to frighten his son. Stay right here, buddy, Lisa instructed softly, her protective instincts kicking in. The quickness of her response gave Jacob a thread of confidence. Maybe they could face whatever it was together. As they approached the cluttered backspace of the shop, Jacob brushed past customers who were peeking through the doorway, curiosity etched deeply into their faces. He could hear the soft murmur of their whispers, a blend of excitement and concern swirling around them. The sight that met them was chaotic. Ice cream tubs lay scattered like fallen soldiers, and behind the counter, Charlie, the store's volunteer handyman, rubbed his forehead, looking disoriented. I am sorry. The shelf he stammered, his cheeks a deep shade of crimson. Jacob took in the scene, realizing the impact of the crash was more than just spilled treats. It was a metaphor for everything, how fragile their attempts at connection had been. Are you okay, Charlie? He asked, stepping closer. Yeah, I think so. Just clumsy, I guess, Charlie replied with a sheepish grin, attempting to straighten himself up. Let us get this cleaned up, Jacob said, squatting to right an overturned ice cream container, trying to shake off the heavy air that clung to them. He could feel Lisa's eyes on him, studying how he would handle the chaos. Exactly. Rachel chimed in, grabbing a few napkins from the counter. We can fix this together. As they worked, laughter spilled back into the room, and Jacob could almost hear the shift in mood. Moments of family chaos were common in their lives, whether it was party planning or just daily routines. And right then, pinning that moment to the wall of his mind felt vital. He needed to remember how these small acts, the messy, the unexpected, were part of their journey. With every napkin they grabbed, every tub they lifted back into place, the storm swirling inside Jacob began to calm. He caught Lisa's eye as she reached for a fallen cone. Their gazes locked for a moment, something unspoken passed between them. Perhaps this was what they needed, tasks that required teamwork, moments that pushed them toward one another again. See? Easy fix, Jacob said, trying to keep the mood light, though the cracks of their earlier argument were still there, simmering beneath the surface. Then, without warning, Ethan piped up, "Can we have a competition? Whoever gets the most ice cream into the cones wins." Jacob couldn't help but laugh, the pure sweetness of his son's suggestion ripping through the remaining tension. "That's a great idea. But I warn you, I've got skills." As laughter broke out among them, the earlier confrontation faded, if only for a moment. There was warmth again, a possibility to begin anew draped in the chaos of shattered cones and spilled ice cream. But just as Jacob felt a sense of lightness returning, a cold gust swept through the store, and he noticed a shadow from the end of the street. A figure stood watching, a familiar outline he had hoped not to see again. It sent a chill down his spine. What was that presence doing here, threatening the fragile harmony they'd just started to rebuild? Jacob's heart raced as he focused on the figure standing at the edge of the street. The warm, chaotic laughter around him felt miles away, muted under the weight of something darker. The figure shifted slightly, revealing the unmistakable outline of Mark, an old friend turned adversary. "What's wrong, Dad?" Ethan's voice broke into Jacob's thoughts, reminding him that the world around them still mattered. He turned to his son, forcing a smile, but his stomach twisted. "Nothing, buddy. Just someone I didn't expect to see," Jacob replied, trying to mask the unease creeping into his voice. "It's no big deal," Lisa chimed in as she stacked a cone precariously high with ice cream. But Jacob noticed the way her gaze drifted back to the door, the way her hands faltered briefly before regaining momentum. The laughter was still there, but the tension synthesized back into the room. Mark took a step forward, his familiarity quieting the jovial mood. "Hey, Jacob," came his voice, a bit too casual, a bit too forced. The corner of Jacob's mouth twitched involuntarily. Memories of their last meeting rushed back, bitter words exchanged, promises broken. "Mark," Jacob greeted, his tone clipped, not wanting this reunion to feel like a warm embrace. Lisa nudged closer, her intuition finely tuned, ready to protect their family from whatever storm was brewing. "Fancy seeing you here. Heard you guys were having a bit of fun." Mark's eyes roamed over the scattered ice cream chaos. It felt mocking, and Jacob felt the smile he wore start to fade. "We're all good," Jacob replied firmly, cutting through the awkwardness. "Just a little ice cream mishap." His attempt at humor felt hollow, the coldness of Mark's presence looming over them like a threatening cloud. Ethan broke the tension once more, waving excitedly. "Look, Uncle Mark. We're having a competition." He pointed proudly to the stacked cones, oblivious to the current weight. "Sounds fun, buddy," Mark said with a half-hearted smile, trying to engage, but Jacob could see the flicker of something else in his eyes, a hunger, an expectation, perhaps. Rachel stepped forward, brushing her hands together to shake off the lingering remnants of ice cream. "Maybe you could join us, Mark?" she suggested awkwardly, as if the invitation would heal the fractures. "What? Ice cream? Count me in." Mark's enthusiasm felt forced, as if he were grabbing at straws. "No, I think we've got it covered," Jacob interrupted, the instinct to protect stirring strongly within him. He couldn't shake the feeling that having Mark too close could smudge the fragile peace they had. Suddenly, Lisa's phone buzzed in her pocket, slicing through the tension like a knife. She pulled it out, her brow furrowing as she read the message. "Excuse me for just a sec," she murmured, stepping away to take the call. Jacob felt the distance stretch, and he flicked a glance at Mark, who still hovered at the doorway. The unsettling feeling in his gut intensified. "Been a while, hasn't it? How's life?" Mark finally asked, the casual tone of someone who had nothing to lose. Jacob hesitated, trying to gauge Mark's intentions. "It's good. We're good." The words felt stale as they left his mouth. Mark shrugged. I heard about the issues. You guys okay? The concern, the insincerity, it pricked Jacob. That's none of your business, Mark. As if sensing the change, Ethan's laughter echoed behind them. It burst like a bubble, full of joy, and Jacob couldn't help but smile at the innocence of it. But as he turned back to Mark, the chill returned. Look, I really don't want to, he started, but Mark stepped closer, lowering his voice. Things can get better, you know. I've changed. Have you? Jacob's heart raced as he realized he was standing at a crossroads. Did he let Mark in risking their newfound connection or kick him out of their lives for good? Just then, Lisa returned, her face pale and her eyes wide. Jacob, we need to talk. It's about Mark and something I just found out. With those words, the earlier lightness stumbled, leaving only a chilling question hanging in the air. What had she discovered that could change everything? Jacob felt the air thicken as he absorbed Lisa's words. Something simmered beneath them, intense like a storm brewing at sea. He shot a look at Mark, whose expression morphed into something unreadable, almost predatory. What do you mean, Lisa? He managed to ask, pulling in closer to her. She glanced around, her fingers trembling slightly, as if every pair of eyes in the room was on them. Not here, she whispered, pulling Jacob away from Mark's watchful gaze, her urgency palpable. Ethan, having lost interest in the ice cream spectacle, played with the remnants on his cone, unaware of the electric tension hanging in the air. Rachel, sensing something was off, lingered, trying to bridge the distance between family and the unwelcome specter of Mark looming by. Can we just step outside? Lisa suggested, her eyes darting nervously. Jacob hesitated, the impulse to keep Mark at a safe distance battling the need to protect his family. Just a minute, he said, turning back to Mark, whose demeanor had shifted, becoming more ominous with every passing second. We'll be right back. Mark nodded, but his eyes narrowed, studying Lisa with a suspicious intensity. Jacob felt a knot of dread tightening in his stomach as he followed Lisa outside. The heat of the sun washed over him, but it did little to soothe the chill creeping through his veins. Okay, what is going on? He pressed as they stepped away from the laughter and shouts of children inside. Lisa's face was drawn, her mouth set in a tight line. I found something out about Mark and it's serious. She drew a deep breath, as if readying herself to plunge into murky waters. He's not been straightforward. What do you mean? Jacob felt the ground shift beneath him. I went through some old messages, records. He's been looking into us, digging around about you, about Ethan. He's involved in things we shouldn't even be near. Her voice cracked slightly, the revelation weighing heavily on her shoulders. Jacob stared, his heartbeat thundering in his chest. Looking into us? What things? He was just an old friend, not just an old friend. He's been meeting with people from the past. There are rumors. She hesitated, her eyes brimming with worry. I just don't trust him. The darkness curled around Jacob's mind, memories of shared pasts and unbridled betrayal flooding back. I can't let him hurt Ethan or you. Protective instincts surged as he recalled their shared history, but now twisted into something sinister. Lisa reached out, gripping Jacob's arm tightly. We need to keep our distance. Completely. What if he tries to reach out again, tries to pull you back into whatever mess he's in? As Jacob processed her words, a chill ran down his spine, mingling with the anger swelling in his chest. You're right. No more chances. We put up walls. He can't be part of our lives again. But it's not just us, Jacob. If he's involved in something dangerous, her voice trailed off, the implication heavy in the air. Then we need to protect Ethan. His determination sharpened. A protective father rising against unfathomable odds. Before they could say more, the door swung open, and Mark stepped outside, a look of feigned nonchalance plastered on his face. Everything all right? You both look like you've seen a ghost. Jacob felt the urge to clash with Mark, driven by a mix of rage and protectiveness. We're fine. Just discussing family matters. Mark's smirk didn't falter. Good to hear. But, wouldn't he want to keep the fun waiting? He gestured, but something in his eyes betrayed a deeper intent. Jacob felt rage building, a volcano threatening to erupt. He turned to Lisa, a silent unification passing between them. No. He's not welcome here. As he stepped forward to confront Mark, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed behind him. It was Rachel, concern etched across her brow. What's going on here? She asked, tension palpable. What had he gotten himself into? Was he pulling his family into an even larger storm? We need to go home, Jacob said, resolve hardening his voice. But as Jacob turned back, Mark looked past him, a glint of something dark in his eyes. You may have a plan, Jacob. But you can't control what happens next. The air crackled with uncertainty. Whatever was brewing, didn't he want to stay buried? How far would Mark be willing to go to get what he wanted? And as they turned to leave, something felt terribly off. What was lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike? Jacob's heart raced as they moved away from Mark. The oppressive weight of his words hung in the air like storm clouds, dark and threatening. He reached instinctively for Lisa's hand, the warmth of her palm grounding him, reminding him of what truly mattered. They hurried across the parking lot, Ethan trailing behind, oblivious to the brewing storm swirling around his family. As they climbed into their car, Jacob stole a glance at the rearview mirror, catching sight of Mark standing on the steps, watching them with a predatory intensity. Anxiety knotted in his stomach. Did you see that? He asked Lisa, his voice strained. It's like he knows we're scared. I know. We have to stay strong, she replied, her eyes steady but shadowed with worry. He's dangerous, Jacob. We can't underestimate him. Ethan flicked on the radio, a bright pop song spilling from the speakers, an uncanny contrast to the tension of the moment. Jacob forced a smile for his son, wanting to shield him from the ugly reality unfolding around them. Hey, buddy, how was the ice cream? He asked, trying to sound cheerful. Great. Can we get more next week? Ethan beamed, innocent excitement bubbling in his voice. Jacob nodded, pushing aside the tightness in his chest. Absolutely. We'll make it a fun day. But beneath his resolve, he could feel the dark specter of Mark's intentions looming over them. As they drove, Jacob couldn't shake the knot of dread clenching his insides. The car moved steadily down familiar streets, but every turn felt tenser than the last. Lisa reached over, squeezing his hand, and he felt a jolt of energy transfer between them, an unspoken vow to fight against whatever was coming. Let's talk about a plan, Lisa said, her voice steady. We need to figure out how to keep Ethan safe. If Mark is truly involved in something dangerous, we have to act fast. Jacob nodded, the urgency propelling his thoughts. I'll call the police tomorrow. Maybe they can help keep an eye on him on us. Good idea. And we need to put a block on our social media. No sharing pictures or updates about our lives. He could use any information against us. Ethan, still humming along lively with the song, didn't he sense the gravity of their conversation? Jacob wished he could shield him forever, but reality was knocking hard. We can't let him manipulate us. We hold the power, not him. Turning onto their street, Jacob felt the energy shift. Their home was supposed to be a sanctuary, but now it felt like a fortress under siege. As they pulled into the driveway, a chilling thought struck him: Mark might know where they lived. He glanced at Lisa, their shared fear reflected in her eyes. Once inside, Jacob made sure to lock the doors, each click of the lock echoing through the quiet house, amplifying his anxiety. They gathered in the living room, the weight of silence settling around them. Ethan plopped down on the couch, flipping through his toy box, blissfully unaware. Let us draw some boundaries, Jacob began, sitting across from Lisa. We'll keep a low profile. Avoid places we think he might go. Agreed, Lisa said, her voice firm. And if he shows up again, we don't confront him alone. We have to stick together. We can't let him sow discord between us. Jacob looked at her, feeling the surge of unity between them. You're right. This fight is ours to win or lose, but we won to lose. Just then, a notification chimed from Jacob's phone, jolting him from his thoughts. He picked it up, scrolling through the latest alerts. His stomach dropped as he saw a familiar name linked to the local news. Mark had been spotted at an event, mingling among people linked to unsavory dealings. Jacob felt the world close in around him. What is it? Lisa asked, her curiosity piqued. It's about Mark, he began, but the screen faded to black as the thoughts surged through his mind. What more could they uncover? And how deep did this rabbit hole go? They had started to peel back layers of Mark's intentions, but how far would he go to unleash chaos in their lives? A sense of dread filled the air as Jacob wondered just how far he and Lisa would need to go to protect Ethan. He felt the moment shifting again, dark clouds gathering overhead. How could they prepare for a storm that had only just begun? What would be their next move in this game of shadows? As the tension wrapped around them, a new sense of urgency filled the room. The time for action was slipping away. Jacob's heart pounded as fear crept into the crevices of his mind. He scrolled back up, desperately seeking anything about Mark. His fingers trembled, and he felt the energy shift in the room. Lisa's eyes locked onto his with an urgency that made the air between them electric. Jacob. Lisa whispered sharply. What does it say? He turned the phone towards her. The headline flashed, pulsating like a warning siren, Mark connected to gang. The article described a recent charity event where Mark rubbed elbows with shady figures. The words blurred together, but the implication hit hard. Mark was not just a nuisance. He was a threat. What does this mean for us? Lisa's voice was steady, but Jacob could see her resolve quaking at the edges. I don't know. It means we need to be more careful, more vigilant. He rubbed his temples, feeling the pressure build. We can't just sit here waiting for him to make the next move. Agreed, she said. There was a quickening in her breath, a shared realization that their lives were spiraling into a realm of danger they had never anticipated. I'll start gathering information. We need to know who he's working with, what his endgame is. Ethan's voice broke through, bright and carefree, as he held up a drawing he had been working on. Look, Mom. I made a superhero. His innocence felt like a weight on Jacob's shoulders, a bittersweet reminder of everything they were trying to protect. That's amazing, buddy. Jacob forced a smile, his heart aching with the urgency of his son's innocence against the backdrop of their dark reality. Maybe we can take a picture of it and post it? Ethan suggested, eyes bright. Jacob exchanged a glance with Lisa, and dread filled his chest. No, Ethan. We need to keep things private for a little while. The disappointment flashed across Ethan's face, and Jacob hated how their new reality overshadowed his son's childhood. But why? Just trust us, okay? Lisa interjected softly, pulling Ethan close. He nodded but couldn't hide his confusion. Jacob's stomach churned, battling between the desire to protect and the need to maintain normalcy for Ethan. Let us get to work, Jacob said, shaking off the discomfort. He grabbed his laptop and sat at the dining room table, Lisa joining him. They scanned the screen, searching for leads, piecing together fragments of Mark's activities like investigators on the brink of a breakthrough. Hours slipped by. The sun dipped outside, shadows lengthening across the room. 1,000 thoughts raced through Jacob's mind, but one replayed painfully: how far would Mark go to invade their lives? A ping from his phone cut through the quiet. Checking it, he froze. It was a text from an unknown number. I know where you are. Watch your back. The walls of the house felt constricting, as if the very air around him had turned thick with danger. What is it? Lisa's voice trembled slightly, the color draining from her face. It's a warning, he stammered, showing her the screen. The tremor in his hand betrayed him. Jacob, we have to go to the police. Lisa urged, her voice rising, panic edging in. Before he could respond, the door rattled with a forceful knock. Their hearts synchronized in a drum of apprehension as they exchanged frenzied looks. "Who is it?" Jacob called, trying to sound calm but failing miserably as his voice cracked. No answer came, just the sound of heavy breathing that seemed to invade their safe space like an unwelcome guest. "Should we?" Lisa started, but another knock interrupted. This one was followed by footsteps, heavy, deliberate, as if someone was testing the strength of their home. Jacob's pulse raced. He motioned for Lisa to stay quiet as he crept to the door, peering through the peephole. What he saw sent ice racing through his veins. "Jacob!" Lisa whispered urgently behind him. "What is it?" His breath caught in his throat. There stood Mark, a shadow against the porch light, eyes boring into the camera as if he could see Jacob's every fear written on his face. "Open the door," Mark's voice called from the other side, calm yet laced with menace. Jacob's heart hammered in the cage of his ribs. What now? They were on the verge of a reckoning, teetering between action and confrontation, and every moment felt like an eternity. He turned slowly to Lisa, the fear mirrored in her eyes, and all he could think was there was no going back now. What would happen when he faced Mark? Would this be the moment that would either shatter their family or bind them closer together? With resolve, he shifted toward the door, the weight of his decision pressing down like a heavy stone. But was he ready for whatever lay beyond that threshold? Jacob's hand hovered over the doorknob, heart racing as the minutes stretched out, filling the air with uncertainty. He glanced back at Lisa, her eyes glimmering with fear and a fierce determination. "What if he hurts us?" she whispered, as though speaking the worst possible thought made it a reality. "I won't let that happen," Jacob promised, though the weight of his words felt crushing. Could he truly protect his family from this? Mark was unpredictable, and the darkness surrounding him was now creeping into their lives. He took a deep breath, steeling himself. Slowly, he turned the knob and opened the door just a crack, enough to see Mark's face, but not enough to let him inside. "What do you want?" Jacob asked, his voice barely steady, a mixture of anger and fear fighting for control. Mark leaned closer, the porch light illuminating his smirk, like a predatory animal. "We need to talk. Alone." "No," Jacob declared, a rush of adrenaline surging through him. "You're not coming in." Mark's expression darkened, a flicker of something dangerous passing through his eyes. "You really think you can keep me out, Jacob? You're not the man you used to be. You can't protect them. Not anymore." The word struck like a physical blow. Jacob shuddered, but he held firm. "You stay away from my family. I don't care who you think you are." "Think about it," Mark taunted, voice low and biting. "I can make your lives a living hell, or I can be reasonable. I've got something you want." Jacob's chest tightened. The tension was palpable. "What do you mean?" Mark smiled slightly, that layer of ice around him thickening. "I mean, I know about your little secret. All the plans you've got carefully laid out." His eyes flicked towards the living room, the walls all too thin, and Jacob felt naked, exposed. "What do you?" Jacob shook his head. "What kind of game are you playing?" "I'm not playing a game, Jacob," Mark replied, the edge of his voice hardening. "I'm giving you a choice. Help me, and I can help you out of this mess. Ignore me, and I promise I'll let someone know just how vulnerable you really are." Panic surged through Jacob. He looked at Lisa, who stood frozen, hand clutched against her mouth, eyes wide. Ethan was still in the other room, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing right outside their door. "Leave us alone," Jacob said, trying to convince himself more than Mark. "We want nothing to do with you." "Now that," Mark said with a mocking tone, "is where you're wrong." He leaned closer until Jacob could see the minutiae of his face, the unsettling smile, the coldness in his eyes. "I'm already part of your lives, whether you like it or not." Jacob slammed the door shut, heart pounding like a war drum. He turned and faced Lisa, the fight in his chest ignited. "We have to figure something out. I want to let him in. We need to warn Ethan and Jacob." "You can't just ignore what he said," Lisa interjected, cutting through his thoughts like a knife. He knows things. Dangerous things. Jacob's mind raced. They had to act quickly before whatever Mark had planned unraveled their world. Okay, let us talk to the police. They can give us protection. Lisa shook her head, anguish creasing her brow. What if he has people watching us? What if he gets to Ethan first? The fear in her voice twisted his gut into knots. Jacob moved to the living room, urgency propelling him. He found Ethan still drawing, blissfully unaware. It was a small comfort, yet a cruel reminder of the innocence they were putting at risk. We'll keep the blinds down tonight, Jacob instructed Lisa, resolute. Keep the lights dimmed. We have to be careful. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the back of the house. The sound resounded like a gunshot through the fragile piece they de-built. Jacob froze, dread filling every inch of his being. What was that? Lisa whispered. I don't know. Jacob's voice trailed off. He motioned for her to follow him, inching toward the sound, heart racing. As they approached the far side of the house, every creak of the floor beneath felt like a warning. Their sanctuary was no longer safe, it had become a stage set for confrontation. With each step they took, Jacob felt the weight of looming terror press down harder. They were tumbling into a darkness deeper than either of them had imagined. And just as they reached the door to the back entrance, he heard a whisper that sent chills cascading down his spine. Jacob, I'm right behind you. What would it mean for them if Mark truly was as invasive as he claimed? Would they break or break through? Jacob hesitated, the question haunting him as he braced himself against the doorframe. As Jacob turned, adrenaline coursing through him, the moment hung heavy in the air. He found himself face to face with Mark, who stepped from the shadows, a confident predator in a derelict game of cat and mouse. Surprised to see me? Mark's voice dripped with a mixture of amusement and authority, piercing through Jacob's pulse with icy dread. Get out, Jacob growled, instinctively stepping in front of Lisa, shielding her from whatever chaos Mark had brought. He felt the warmth radiate from Lisa behind him, grounding him, reminding him why they had fought so hard to reclaim their lives. You have some nerve, Mark laughed lightly, but there was steel behind it. I came here to offer a solution. I didn't mean to scare you. Just making a friendly visit. Friendly? Jacob echoed, disgust lacing his words. You know nothing about friendship. Really? Mark leaned closer, his smirk unsettling. I'm the only one who can save your family from the position you're in. Jacob clenched his fists, anger rising like bile in his throat. You think you can intimidate us into submission? Not a chance. Mark's cool demeanor never wavered, but beneath it, Jacob sensed the simmering tension. Is it intimidation, Jacob? Or is it just a reality check? Your shop's finances are hanging by a thread. Your daughter-in-law's community spirit can only go so far. I know that. And you know it, too. Jacob felt his heart sink. The truth was like a weight on his conscience, fragile and pressing. But he couldn't let Mark twist that vulnerability into a weapon. Whatever you think you know, you don't. None of it applies to my family. We can handle ourselves. Each word tasted bitter, but they rang true. Handle yourselves? Mark took a step back, crossing his arms. You want to pretend you're strong, but let us be real. You could use a partner. I can help you stabilize things around here. Just think it over. No. Jacob shook his head firmly. We'll make it work. We don't need you. Mark's eyes narrowed, running over Jacob, sizing him up. What if I told you that while you were playing family man, I was out there building connections? Valuable connections that once had our backs. Before you turned your back. The bitterness in his voice turned Jacob's stomach. Jacob locked eyes with Mark, anger boiling beneath the surface. You've got it backwards. I faced my fears and doubts. I returned to my family, a family that you abandoned. Figures that you'd choose family over real opportunity, Mark scoffed. Just keep denying it, Jacob. But when everything falls apart and your world turns dark, don't come crying to me. For a brief moment, Jacob felt disoriented, reeling from their shared past, the resonance of betrayal still throbbing in air around them. But he was reminded why he had left. The deeper truths he had unveiled throughout his journey outside these walls bubbled to the surface. You can't threaten me anymore. You have no power here. Is that so? Mark leaned in closer, voice low, dripping with menace. The danger to your son's well-being is all the power I need. Who is to say what could happen if I were to decide your family isn't worth the hassle anymore? Jacob instinctively tightened his grip on the doorway. Anger and fear waged war within him, but he wasn't buckling. This time, he wouldn't allow fear to dictate his actions. Get out of my house, he said steadily, each word infused with resolve. Or I'll call the police. Mark hesitated for a heartbeat, a mixture of surprise and annoyance flickering across his face before it hardened. You truly don't know with whom you're dealing, he said ominously, but Jacob remained unwavering in his stance. Maybe I'm learning, he replied fiercely, holding Mark's gaze with determination. This ends now. With that, he turned to Lisa, who stood just behind him, tension coiling around her like a protective shield. Let us go, Lisa. We won't live in fear. Not anymore. Mark stepped back, a mocking grin spreading across his face. Run along now. But remember, Jake, shadows don't just disappear. And just like that, with the door closed behind him, Jacob felt the darkness of Mark's words clinging, the finality settling in. But he also felt something different: lightness. Suddenly, he was out of the gate of fear, breathing deeper, emerging from the suffocating grip of Mark's threats. Jacob turned to Lisa, who looked equally as shaken up, but there was flame in her eyes. He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her as Ethan wandered in from the kitchen, grabbing his drawing paper in hand. His innocent smile held no knowledge of the danger that had lurked just outside. Hey, buddy, how about we draw together? Jacob's voice broke, the warmth of family bringing him back, anchoring him to what truly mattered: their bond, their resilience. Can I draw superheroes? Ethan exclaimed, his eyes sparkling, blissfully unaware of the simmering storm outside. Absolutely. How about we make an army of superheroes? Jacob encouraged, releasing the tension from his own heart. Yeah. And they can protect our store. Ethan said enthusiastically, unaware that every word he spoke was a silent vow, a testament to family commitment against chaos. As they gathered around the table, drawing crayons spilling forth a world of imagination, Jacob felt a glow of protectiveness wash over him. They would face whatever came next together, stronger than before in a world that held both darkness and wonder. In that moment, everything felt like it was spilling into place. No matter what Mark believed or what he would try next, Jacob vowed to protect what mattered most: his family, his legacy. They were together, they would rise together. As laughter echoed softly amid the colors and warmth of home, Jacob realized the battle for his family's peace had only just begun. But with every family gathering, with every shared moment, they would rebirth what was fragile into something ferocious together. Acceptance, growth, and resilience would be their cornerstones. And perhaps, just perhaps, they would finally emerge from the shadows to greet the dawning light. If you don't want to miss the next exclusive stories, you need to subscribe now. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support.